I'm Brice Ezell. I'm from George Fox University in Newburgh, Oregon. I'm a junior there where I'm a double major in English and philosophy. I applied to be a Millennial Values Fellow in large part because I actually didn't know what what the millennial generation was exactly. Since I was asked by one of my professors to apply, I made the presumption that I am part of the millennial generation, and then but after researching it and after kind of figuring out like what the age group applies to, I wasn't really sure what the identity of that generation was. And especially since I find myself very jaded with this election, I guess I share the cynicism that was addressed in the Millennial Values survey. And because of that cynicism, I just didn't know how to feel about the election, and moreover, I didn't know how other people like me felt about the election. So in large part, in writing about this and in researching about this and dialoguing with the other fellows, my goal in doing all this is to understand how I fit into a particular generation, because I think that even if you don't want to fit in a generation, we all end up inevitably doing it. So how I relate to this generation that because of the year I was born, am part of, but even more than that, how we can break past some of the, I think, issues that we're having in relating ourselves to the political situation in the United States. I think one way we can improve American democracy is being honest with ourselves. I think another striking example from the Millennial Value Survey was that millennials tended to be disillusioned about the state of politics as it relates to them. That is, it's the government, not our government. But at the same time, they also believe that voting changes things, which is a very bizarre sort of belief, because if the first one is right, then our voting only feeds a system that works against us. So I think that if we're going to say, I think there is to some extent which we should be disillusioned, because the status quo does have many problems. But at the same time, we shouldn't kid ourselves and say, well, the people in power have all the power, we're just hopeless, young people who can't do anything. I think that's a very flawed and contradictory way, frankly, to approach things. Because if you're going to go ahead and say, well, there's nothing I could do, I'm a young person, I don't have the political and social capital to try to move and change things in our politics, then by your own logic, those in power have already won. They have convinced you are powerless. We are not powerless. I think that we are a nation of people who, if we put our minds to it, can make the change to do something great. And I think that's one of the reasons why America has succeeded for as long as it has.